Yeah, so I'm Prashanth Kamalakanthan. I'm the writer, director, editor of Have a Nice Life, which is a road movie and a stoner comedy about two women on the run from the law. Their journey starts in Durham, North Carolina, and they're from very different sides of town. One of them is a Indian housewife, an arranged marriage, played by a first-time actor who's also my mom. The other one is a stoner musician whose band just ended. Their paths crossed in an unlikely way at a pawn shop. They find themselves on the run, without cash, a shoddy car, and paranoia over being surveilled, and all these kind of loom as dark clouds on their few short days together on the road. That's the film's about that wild journey.
So tell me about the writing process. Where did the inspiration for this film come from? Tell me about writing it, and we'll get into casting next.
Yeah, so, I started writing this in 2017, 2018 as I was graduating from NYU, the graduate directing program. And, I wanted to write something that I could actually make, because I had this opportunity to make a film as my thesis, had all this institutional support and this window of time. And I was just watching a lot of these movies that were inspiring me as a young kind of first-time indie filmmaker. I was really drawn to the new waves of Japan and France, and this moment when this young generation of filmmakers looked at this kind of ossified film tradition and said, this isn't like how we view the world or how we experience things, and we just dynamite everything and start from scratch. And these films aren't perfect, but they are really like fresh and stand out and reflect a moment and place and a type and a time and thinking, and I really just was inspired by that. And I want to capture that energy. I felt like it was missing in the American cinema, and this was 2019, 2020. A lot of things were happening in the world, and I think all of that energy has kind of finds its way into the film.
So talk to me about your cast. You mentioned your mom.
Yeah,
we also
yeah.
too have your father in this film, who makes a small cameo appearance.
Yeah.
So did you write this film with mom involved, with mom in mind, or was it like, afterwards?
Yeah, so, I'd written this story just with the people and the places that I grew up around, and the Indian housewife was modeled very closely after my mom, but I never expected her to be able to do it. I mean, she's a first-time actor, non-professional. She works at the soils agronomy department part of the Department of Agriculture, and so it's totally unrelated. But I actually, I ended up casting my mom in a promo video. I'd had an actor in mind for the actual role because it had all this emotional range, and I just didn't think she'd be able to do it. But after we made the promo video, a bunch of people were like, when are we going to see the movie with your mom in it? And then I started thinking about it. I went and approached her. She seemed interested. And so that was when I started thinking, okay, maybe this is something you could actually do. And it seemed exciting and unusual enough to pursue it that I felt like it was just something we had to do after that seed was in my mind. And it's also just, I don't think, for me, after a while, it just became important to have someone like her in it and not an actor pretending to be her. Because it's just a segment of the population you never see authentically represented at all, and it's like how a lot of Americans look, it's your neighbor, open the door, and so that was really important for me. And also, it's like it was an indie feature, my first feature, and like having willing family members who are able to not only support but then actually be in the movie was huge. So my dad plays a supporting role. Both of my grandmas kind of make their way into it. My one of my grandmas is an extra in the very first shot of the movie. The other grandma does a bit of voice acting. So kind of everybody is pitched in. It's a give an inch, take a mile.
Tell us about your mom. Who is she? I mean, who is mom, and how was the conversation approaching mom? Because she is a professional.
Yeah.
She works in the environmental area.
Yeah.
And what was the conversation like, Mom, you blew up on YouTube.
Yeah.
People love you.
Yeah.
We need more of you. What was that conversation like?
I mean, it was something like that. I mean, it was like, hey, I actually think that, you're great. You did a great job. People love the video. And I think you could be really good. Would you be open to doing this? And she seemed open to the idea, and that was really cool. I mean, I think that she also maybe thought it sounded fun, but I think also she wanted to help but just believed in me and felt like if I believed strongly in it and I thought it was going to work, then it would work. And I think it was this combination of kind of trust and openness that really made it possible. But yeah, I mean, her basic questions were just more just logistic, like, can I take, like, how long do you need me to do this? Like, can I take off work? And we kind of worked all that out, and it was great, you know.
You know, what I really love about independent film is that it really takes a village. It takes a community.
Oh, yeah.
And you were telling me on the red carpet that you had the Auntie Network involved, and the aunties wanted to cook meals for your cast and crew, and that a lot of people offered their homes up to you and their businesses. So talk to me about the importance of that support that you had with your parents and your friends of your parents and the aunties and the uncles in the community.
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. I mean, we couldn't have made this film any other way for that reason. I mean, people always ask us, like, so we're based in New York now, and they're like, well, what was it like going back home to North Carolina, like, versus shooting an indie film in New York? I mean, such a rich tradition of indie filmmaking out of New York City. And for me, it was, I you know, when I was thinking about this stories that I could tell, especially as a first film, I immediately thought of these places back home, and just places I was more familiar with, that I had access to, that I knew I could call upon, and just the way that people kicked into action down there was so kind of heartening, and I think also suffused the film with that same kind of energy. I think that there's this warmth and kind of handmade feeling to the film that I think comes from all of the kind of the handprints in the clay, you know, and people really were really responded to this idea when we told them about it down there. Like, you know, they offered up their homes to us, like you said. They were cooking for us, you know, like entertaining my, you know, I had one of my best friends PAing, and he took all the crew down to this turtle hole where everyone went swimming on the, you know, in the Eno River on our day off, and it was just a kind of magical time. Because the kind of circus came to town, you know, and that was really the vibe, like how excited people were down there, and very different from a place like New York or LA, where everyone's making movies all the time, and it's just a nuisance, you know. It's like get out of my walk to my commute, man. Like, you know, whereas people really wanted to help down there, yeah.
Talk to me about authenticity. I know this is a fun film. It's not a documentary. It's not really a message film. But when I really watch the film, it's authentic. You know, you have this Indian housewife who, you know, is a part of the community, is part of everyone's community. And you had all these supporting cast members. I mean, talk to me about the authenticity of the characters, but also, too, of your locations as well, because what you exhibited was the American dream.
Yeah.
You know, these two ladies, you know, going on this adventure, and, you know, like you said, they're polar opposites. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, it's like this question of representation and authenticity is so important, because cinema is, like, I think, well, maybe the most powerful representative medium that we have, you know, because it's indexical. You have to put a camera in front of something and make something happen, and there's some stamp of reality on it. And so even if it's totally manipulated and framed and contorted, there's this stamp of reality. And so there's this link between the film image and what we think reality is. And I think that you can really change people's ideas through that. And so for me, it's always been important not just to put faces in high places, or just like get representation up on the screen and, like, you know, just show North Carolina like as though it was a travel brochure, or just show Indian people like it was an infomercial. You know, it's, you know, that's great for those people, you know, but that's like also 0.0001% of the Indian community that gets represented in movies. You know, I think much more important than just cherry picking a few people and putting them on the screen is actually delving into their experience and, like, telling the story in the way that they would tell it, you know, viewing the images in the way that these people actually think differently, and going through the characters in the film and treating the places like characters. And that's what I really tried to do, you know, like, it wasn't just like glamour shots of North Carolina. It was meditating on the North Carolina that I knew and trying to kind of get to hidden connections and a deeper reality about the thing.
Talk to me about your relationship with your mom and dad. You know, did your relationship with your parents, you know, strengthen because of this? What did you learn about your mom and dad and your grandmas that you did not know about them before? Because you're not seeing them as, you know, a family member. You're seeing them as, you know, a cast and crew on this film. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I think it's like, There's this beautiful image in the Vedas, in the Hindu sacred texts, where they talk about, reality as illusion. That's the true nature of reality, and there's actually a deeper reality that we have to kind of awaken ourselves to. And we look at art and we meditate because it's like the dream within the dream. That's what wakes us up, is when you realize, hey, there's layers to this thing. It's like an onion, and I can peel it back. And I think that there was a bit of this, like, for them it must have been so surreal, I mean, they immigrated to America in search of a better life so many years ago, about 24, 23 years ago, and all these years later is their son directing them in a weird comedy film. I mean, and that must have been as surreal for them as it was for me. But I think in a way that kind of context, like, really kind of, it was sometimes you have to be thrown into a kind of a completely novel situation to really see something for the first time. And so I think I saw my parents in all these kind of new lights, and we were just able to play together, which was really cool. It's
how did the grandmas do?
Oh, the grandmas
did they have fun?
Yeah, so my grandma, the one grandma just voice acted. We did, like, in post-production, we had a little trip to India just for family visit in between, and I was actually able to, like, record with her down there, and so that was really fun. But I think they were just really excited. My other grandma, my dad's mom, was just living out of the house while we were shooting, and so she was like front row seat to seeing it all go on. I remember like bringing her over to like see, like, look at the monitor, like you see all this crazy crap that's like everywhere, but look at the little monitor, and that's the beautiful image that we're getting. And I think she was really enjoying it. It's like again, the circus comes to town. There's a lot to just look at. And we put her as an extra in the movie. Just kind of had her like little role in there.
Did she like that? I mean, was it?
I think we were like, hey, you did a great job. I think you did better than the other extras. And she was like, oh, I didn't do anything. And it's but it was a lot of fun. And I think it was just such a special experience making a film. I don't know if I'll ever have a chance to make a movie in quite the same way again. So
what I think is very special is that we're all not going to be around forever, and you always will have your grandmas and your parents on film.
Yeah.
So all of us can enjoy who they are.
Totally.
As people, and I think that's very special when we have a chance to put family on screen.
Totally.
In a very appropriate way that their legacy will live forever, and we'll all fall in love with the grandmas and the aunties and the uncles. Yeah. Really quickly, what are you working on next? What's next for you?
So I have a number of features in development, working on kind of small, medium, large, just in the development track, trying to get funding. We also have me and Artemis, the producer, on Have a Nice Life. We also have a film that we shot in quarantine about the pandemic, kind of a sci-fi comedy thriller. That's forthcoming. So got a lot of buns in the oven. Yeah.
Congratulations on such a great film. Send all of our best to your family back home, and thanks for bringing it to Bentonville.
Thanks, Dave. This is excellent.